It's May of 2020 and we're still in the desert Southwest, Arizona actually, and that's a little bit later than we would like to be here. In fact, in April it was getting hot early here this year, and we had many days up over 100. In fact, some have reached like what, about 108 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's just a little bit too warm for us, so we're anxious to get out of here. Uh, in fact, in this video, you're going to hear the air conditioner rumbling. We have two air conditioners on and a few fans right now, so I apologize for the noise, but that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
There's just no way to do this without those on. We're already sweating, and we're doing the best that we can, but
Yeah, so we're just going to share some of the tips that we've been using to try to keep cool in our RV while being in triple-digit weather.
yeah, and before we get into that, there's a couple things that we do that most people I think would do anyway, very logically, and that's where we choose to park our truck in fifth wheel. We definitely try to orient it in the sun the way that we would like, get as much shade as possible when we want that. So those are definitely things that we do first. We have sun screens in the windows in the truck. The windows are tinted. We talked about that in a previous video that we can link in the description, but we definitely have some other tips to share with you that are based on some of the, I don't know if you want to call them hardships or just hotships
Yeah.
that we've been going through lately.
So like Bernie said, we do like to try to park where there is as much shade as we possibly can, if that is a possibility. But other things that we do to try to make our own shade include using our awning and things like canopies and sunshades.
Yeah, one of the bad things about using the awning, well, the good thing is it creates shade. The bad thing is that usually when it's hot, we have to put it in because the winds are high. So we have to constantly be on the lookout for that. You know, it's just one of those catch-22s, I guess.
Yeah, and it seems that here, where we're at right now, the time of the day when there's the most heat, where the canopy would do the most good, is the time when the wind really seems to come up, so we end up having to put it in. So we did try some sunshades this time on the slides, and that seems to be working out. And then always, you know, canopies, the same with the canopies, you always have the risk of wind with those as well. We've had more than one of those.
That's usually a bad thing with the wind. The pop-up canopies, you know, we like using those where we can, but more often we just don't even bother because we just happen to be in windy locations a lot. So, but we do like using those to create a little bit of shade.
Even though it has been windy, the sunshades that we did attach to the slide seem to be working pretty well.
Yeah. One of the things that we like to use when it's hot, and we've been using quite a bit lately in this heat, is Reflectix. And we've used that in cooler temperatures, but we've really been appreciating it lately because we can put that in a window and it will really block the heat. You can just immediately feel the heat drop, the temperature drop right near the window that we put it in. So we've got that in all of the windows, and it does get a little bit cave-like, but,
Yeah,
we try to have some that we pull out here and there.
It's worth it for the amount of heat that it cuts down on. So
Yeah, and some of the other places that we found to use Reflectix, which is really good, is in our exhaust vents. We have 3 of those, and we like putting it in there. That blocks out not only heat but light if we don't want the light in a particular area. Like back towards our bedroom, we have 2 of those vents in the hallway, as well as a big skylight, and we also put it in the skylight. And I mean, that area, that's the shower skylight, and that area gets like roasting hot. You can actually be in there and get yourself a good sunburn on some days when it's hot like this. So we put it up in there, and man, does it help. It just really helps, and plus it keeps the area dark so you get some good sleep. And
yeah, and another thing that we noticed, we have a couple of cabinets that we were noticing that things even in the cabinets were getting very warm, and
Right.
so yeah, putting some of that Reflectix in the back of the cabinet has really helped to keep the inside of the cabinets
yeah,
cooler.
if you like, especially on those outside walls, anything like that, you can put it back there. If you open a cabinet and you feel heat in there, the chances are Reflectix could, you know, provide some help. One of the things that we discovered this time around, for the first time with Reflectix, is we ended up putting it on the side of one of our slides where that our refrigerator is in, and we'll talk about that a little bit more at length in a little bit. But the Reflectix actually was already cut. The roll that we got was already cut to the right size, and it just fit right in, and it stayed in. I did put a couple command strips up at the top just to keep gravity in check, so that it didn't fall out. But yeah, we tried that new, and so we like Reflectix. It works really good.
The next thing has to do with the AC thermostat. Now, I was kind of doing this backwards. When it first started getting hot, I was thinking, let's try not to turn the AC on as long as possible. Let's just tough it out for as long as we can. And so about 2 in the afternoon, it would be 95 degrees in here, and we'd turn the air on. And that is not really the best way to do it. It's actually better to set it at a comfortable setting that you're going to be okay with, and just leave it there and let it just cycle through. It's much easier on the air conditioner to do that than to get it really, really hot and then have it try to be coming down 15 or 20 degrees, and it's just going to take hours, and it's going to run constantly. So I kind of learned the hard way that it's better to just set it where you want it and not let it get too hot.
Yeah, we have a couple air conditioners, and we try to set those in such a way that we give one a break every once in a while and depend on the other one, that kind of thing. Just kind of keeping that in mind so that we're not overworking one of them. Something that we also have is a little sensor that we have in our RV, and that will alarm at the thresholds that I have it set at. Like if it goes over a certain, like if we don't want it to go over, say, 80 degrees or something like that Fahrenheit, it will alarm me on my phone and let me know that we've went over that. And so that way we can rush home or call someone directly to have them check in on Barkley. And Barkley does not like temperatures too much above 80 degrees anyway,
No.
so he doesn't like to go out in this. It's really a chore just to get him to go out to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't like that.
Yeah, he
at
doesn't. He has been laying basically in front of a fan pretty much all day and all night since it started getting in these high 90s and above. And so that sensor thing that Bernie was talking about is really a good peace of mind if we have to leave and go out, and we'll know if if the power went off, then it's going to turn the fan off, and when the power comes back on, the fan's probably not going to come back on.
That's
So
a good point.
it's going to get hot, and that way we know that, oh, hey, the temperature's really rising. Maybe there's an issue. We need to come home or have it checked on. So that does help. But yeah, the fans and the fans are also very helpful. But the AC, having that set where you want it, is definitely better than letting it get too hot.
Yeah, I agree. We really have appreciated our air conditioning lately, that's for sure. Speaking of fans, we have quite a few of those. I think we probably have 3 that we're using right now, and then 4 including the ceiling fan. And something that I've always used to tell everybody is if you've got a fan blowing on you and then you leave the room or leave the house or the RV or whatever, that fan's not doing any good. Unless the fan is blowing on your pet or blowing on something that you're trying to keep cool, because it's not an air conditioner. It's not going to keep the environment. It's just moving the air that exists around. It's not exchanging it necessarily. And so we usually try to turn those off when we leave the room. But we do leave the ceiling fan on for circulation purposes, usually just to kind of do that.
Yeah, the ceiling
seasonally.
fan is a really easy thing that you might overlook, because most ceiling fans, they have a switch on them for summer or for winter. And in the summer, you want to make sure that it's turning counterclockwise to push that cool air down, and you want to usually run it on high to get as much circulation as you can, which is going to be the opposite in the winter. If you turn the switch the other way, it's going to turn clockwise, and then you just want to keep it on low in that situation to just kind of keep the warm air circulating.
Yeah,
that
one of the
way,
ways
but-
it's taking the cool air up and dispersing, the other way it's taking the hot air down and dispersing it depending on the season. So there's a
Yeah.
little switch that will, toggle for that.
Another tip involving fans is something that Bernie learned growing up.
Yeah. Well, I used to take a block of ice. I'm sure a lot of people did this, but I stick the block of ice in a bake pan and then set it on a chair with a box fan behind it and aim it right at me when I was laying in bed or something. And man, it would get me through those nights when it was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit after midnight. And it just, it's not the best thing in the world, but it definitely helps. It's better than nothing.
Yeah, it makes it does make a really big difference. We lived in a house that had an evaporative cooler rather than air conditioning, and it just didn't seem to work very well. So, on the nights when it doesn't drop below 96, 97 degrees, it was very hard to sleep. So putting that block of ice in front of the fan really makes a difference.
Yeah, especially if you're in a dry climate. If you're somewhere where it's really humid, then adding humidity to the air is probably not the best move.
Yeah, but the fan, it seems to cool it really quickly and blow that cool air, and it feels really good.
Yeah, it does. Something else that we've been dealing with quite a bit in the heat and learning some lessons from, and probably have a few tips on, is the refrigerator. Now, RV refrigerators aren't necessarily like the ones in a household or apartment, that type of thing, that run on Freon. It's a quite different system. Some people do have commercial or household refrigerators in their RVs, but most of them are going to be this other type of heat exchange that goes on that does not do well in high temperatures, especially sustained temperatures like we've been having. So we've learned a good lesson recently with that.
Yeah, recently we, had stocked up with our week's worth of groceries, maybe a little more than normal, but not realizing that we were expecting triple-digit heat for several days, and suddenly opened the refrigerator and it was over 60 degrees inside the refrigerator, and we pretty much lost everything that we had just bought.
Yeah, so started doing a little bit of research, and we were kind of surmising that it was just the intense heat, that it just couldn't keep up with it, and so I went to work trying to mitigate that. And some of that was, at first, I put a shade cloth over on that side of the RV where the refrigerator is, that's inside of one of our slides. And then I thought, well, in fact, my sister kind of reminded me that maybe that might have been blocking some of the airflow up there. I'm not quite sure if that were the case, because I wasn't able to measure either one way or the other that it was hurting it, but it made sense. So I took the shade cloth down, and then I started blowing air in with a fan through the bottom vent, because that's the cool air intake area. So I started blowing air in with a fan there. And basically what I was trying to do before I go installing fans, which you can get these little 12-volt fans that are kind of like what you have in a computer server, that type of thing. And you can put these in there. They're relatively quiet, and you can hook them up in a thermostatic type of way that they go off and on when they need to, so that you don't have to do it manually. But anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and try to troubleshoot first. I started blowing in some air on the bottom with the fan. That didn't seem to be helping much, and we're monitoring this with an outside temperature readout display, so that we didn't have to open the door to check the temperature all the time. And that wasn't helping so much, so we were in the store one day and we saw this double fan that you put in windows of houses, and I thought, wow, that seems like it'd be a good idea. So I went ahead in the top vent and put that in, and that's where the hot air is supposed to escape. So I put that up there with double fans sucking out the heat. That did seem to help considerably, so we started running that during the day, and then we turn it off at night when it would drop down to freezing, about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that.
Yeah, and as fans go, you can also put a small fan inside the refrigerator. We did that as well, just to circulate the air inside, because you want to maintain good circulation in there. Take everything off the top shelf in front of those fins that are on the usually on the top shelf there. Make sure that nothing's blocking those, and don't pack any things, you know, next to the edge. Make sure that you have a good circulation all around the refrigerator. And of course, you know, think about what you're going to need and open and close it as little as possible. Sometimes that's difficult because you take something out, oh, and you needed that too. And so, but you know, I've been trying to think about what I'm going to need and open it once to get everything out, and then open it once again to put everything back.
Yeah.
And that
we're usually pretty good at that, but I think we've been just a little bit more focused on that recently. Yeah, and I don't really believe that I'm going to install those fans permanently. From doing that testing, to me, the best remedy and the best fix is to go to cooler temperatures. to get out of the desert is basically the way to do it. So that's the plan.
Yeah.
Those are a few of the things that we've been doing to try to get ourselves out of the hot mess that we've been in. We'd absolutely love to hear some of the things that you have done to beat the heat.
Please let us know in the comments, and don't forget to share, subscribe, and click on the little notification bell. Thanks for watching.